What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to upgrade from Proxmox 7 to Proxmox 8. Now, Proxmox 8 has been out for a while, but generally when it comes to doing an in-place upgrade of my hypervisor, I'm always a little bit hesitant because especially when you're doing an in-place upgrade, if something goes wrong, then you end up wiping up everything. If you don't have a backup, I guess that's what a backup is for, I suppose. If you don't have a backup, then you have to rebuild from scratch. But normally I don't like going through that headache, even the process of restoring the backup in itself. So I'm always very careful when it comes to upgrading my hypervisor. But this past week, read the documentation, and I went through the upgrade process. I figured I'd create a video about it. For those of you guys that are going to be doing the same thing, I've put together a very well detailed article about how to go through the whole process with pictures and everything. So if you do want to see that, you can check that out in two places. Number one, you can check that out on the website. Link is in the description box below. And number two, you can check that out in our Discord channel. Link would also be in the description box below. Let's roll the intro clip. When we come back, we're going to talk all about it. Let's go. Okay, guys, so for step number one, the first thing that we need to do is that we need to back up our VMs. We need to back up our configuration files, and we're doing this because if something goes wrong, we need to be able to restore these things, and we're right back where we started, and we don't have to go through the process of having to rebuild everything. So in this step, we're going to go through backing up everything that we need to back up, and then we're going to move on to step two. So let's do it. Okay, guys, so for step one, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to back up a couple of things in our Proxmox server. Keep in mind that this Proxmox node was specifically set up for this tutorial process. So I don't have that much VM in this node, but it allows me to kind of demonstrate some of the things that you have to do anyways. So we have to back up our VMs. If you have VMs, which I'm sure you do, VMs on your node, you have to back up your container if you do have container, and we have to back up a couple of configuration files from Proxmox to an external storage. So for this demo, what I basically did is that I created an external storage. So if we go back here for a second, this is a shared drive that I create on this computer that I'm using right now, and then I share it, and then I mount this external storage to my Proxmox server. I can create a video on how to do that, but that's something that you can also look up online. But when I do create a video, I'll probably reference it somewhere in the documentation that I have on my website. So basically what you do is you go to your data center, you go to storage, and then you should be able to mount and click add and be able to mount that storage here. And then once you do, it should look something like this. And this is the guy that I created about. So once you mount it, it should look something like this, and you should be able to start moving things to it. So it could be whatever shared drive that you have on your network, you can mount it in and be able to back things up. So once you do that, to back up the VMs, there's two ways that you can do this. You can back up individual VMs, so you can back up a series of VMs on any specific node, and I'll show you both ways. The first way is that you click on your VM, you go to backup, you click on backup now. It's going to give you a couple of options that you have to choose from as to how or what you want to back up. So you want to back up as to how or where you want to back up to. You want to back up to the backup storage that we created. Again, this is the storage that I have on my local computer. It's an external storage. I want to select that, and I want to select snapshot, and then I want to select the compression type. I'm going to select ZSTD, which is a combination of pretty much this two, I think. So once you click on that, you can add whatever node you want to add here. It doesn't matter. It's a matter of reference. You can add whatever you want to add here. You can just say backup type. It's up to you. So once you do that, you can also check this box if you want to protect the backup from being deleted. But I'm not going to do that. Again, this is just a test environment. So once you do that, you're going to go ahead and click backup, and the backup process is going to start. Just keep in mind that depending on how big your VM is, depending on how much stuff you have on it, it's probably going to take a while to go through the backup. Okay, so the backup is pretty much done. So we have task okay, and then we have backup job successful. The backup is done, it's good to go. So now click X, we're going to see that backup here, And if we go into our shared drive, we click on this and we click on dump, we're going to see the backups here. So this is pretty much how you create backup for your individual VMs, and you want to do this for each of your VMs in the node. If you have a lot of VMs in your node, in a specific node, which in my case is lab 1, what you want to do is you want to go to data center, same concept, and you want to click on backup, and you want to click on add backup. So as you can see, this is a little bit more extensive, meaning that it gives you a little bit more options. So now what you can do is you can select what node you want to back up. So in this case, I'm just going to say all nodes. And then what's going to happen is that it's going to ask you, what do you want to back up what you want to send the backup to. You want to select the external storage, and then you want to select the schedule. So you can do it 30 minutes. If it's something that you just want to do right now, you can do whatever you want. So once you click on that, you can change the time and stuff like that if you want to. And you can even send an email if you have sort of SMTP. I haven't used that yet, so I'm assuming you have to just have some sort of SMTP server or something like that set up to be able to send that email, but I haven't used it yet for notification. So you want to select ZSTD again. Select snapshots, and then you want to select include selected VM. So you can say just include all of the VMs, and it's going to include all of the VM in your node. And then once you do, you're going to click create. And once that time period hits, it's going to kick up the backup, and it's going to back up every single VM on each specific node. If you say all node, it's going to go through each node, and it's going to back up each node. If you say specific node, it's going to go through that node. It's going to back up all of your node. So pretty much this is how you back up your VMs. If you have containers, anything that you have, you're going to want to kind of go through a similar process to create a backup of all of those things, because again, it's very important. If something goes wrong, you need to be able to come back. So that's pretty much how you create a backup for your VM. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to back up a couple of configuration files. I've already backed up those files, but I'm going to show you those files, and I'm going to show you the quickest way or the easiest way that you can do that. So to do that, we basically just use WinSCP. WinSCP is a free program that you can download. You just go to Google, type in WinSCP, and you should be able to download it for free. It's a free open source software that you can use to SSH into things. So basically what we need is, first we need to grab our IP address, the IP address for this particular node. So let's go ahead and grab that. And once we open up a WinSCP, we're going to click on the new tab. And then here we're going to enter, actually, I think I already have one. Save. Okay, there you go. So here we'll basically enter our IP address for that specific node. We're using port 22. And then we're going to enter the username for this specific VM, for this specific Proxmox server. So once we do that, we're going to click login. It's going to prompt us for the password. We're going to enter the password. And then we're going to click enter. So now we are automatically logged into, on the right hand side is your, let me just go one up so we can see. On the right hand side is your Proxmox node. This is like the file explorer for your Proxmox node. And on the left hand side is your local VM. So basically you can create a backup, as I've done here. You can create a backup folder, and in that backup folder, you want to kind of transfer each and every one of this file over. Not really transfer as in, you know, delete it here and put it over there. You want to copy it, right? Because a lot of the files that are highlighted here and folders is a combination of files and folders. Hold configuration for your Proxmox server, hold certain things, passwords and things like that for your Proxmox server. So you want to make sure you back those up, and if something goes wrong, you can just copy it back over. So from here, I'm going to put the location of the files that you have to copy over on my website. Again, also Proxmox have it on their documentation that they provide, so make sure you check it out. So here you can go to etc, and a lot of them are in etc. So in etc, you're going to look for the resolve.config, and you're going to look for the passwd, and you go in network, which I think it's up here somewhere. You're going to click on that, and you're going to go to interfaces, and you want to copy that file over. Again, it's very intuitive. It's not that crazy. This is the easiest way that I find to do it. Instead of going through the command line, you just kind of SSH into it and be able to copy things over. Again, if we go for that, for example, we'll scroll down here. Actually, I think we'll just do R. And we're able to find a lot of these files and be able to copy them over. So let's see, like passwd, for example, you can just right click, you say copy to clipboard, and then you just paste that in here, and then you say paste to clipboard. You say okay. It's going to tell me probably there's something else there. Yes, which is fine. You click yes, and it's going to copy that over. So you want to do this for each and every one of these files. The first folder, if we go back, is the PVE folder, and then there's the interface, which is in the network folder here somewhere. So you click on network. Again, I will have all of these files on my website, so make sure you check out the website or check out the documentation. So you want the interface, you want the PVE folder, you want the interface file, the passwd file, and the result file. These are the files that Proxmox recommend you copy over before you start the backup. So that's pretty much it. So now we have our VM backup, and then we have our configuration files. Oh, one more thing, if you have special configurations, so apart from this configuration files that VMware recommended, if you already have some files where it's like special configuration, you make special changes to them, it's very crucial that you also back up those files as well. So if you made changes to something specific that they don't highlight in the things that you have to copy over, make sure you make copy and then copy those into your backup folder on your external storage, which in my case is my local VM. So once you do that, we're good to go as far as backup, as far as step one go. We copy things over, we all set. So now we can move on to step two. So step number two, for step number two, what you want to do is you want to get to your Proxmox 7 version, to the latest Proxmox 7 version. I don't know if that makes sense. So basically, if you currently running Proxmox, let's say 7, and this is just fictional, 7.10-14, for example, you need to get it to 7.x-16, which I think is the latest version, but you need to get it to whatever the latest version of 7 is before you do the upgrade. Proxmox highly recommend this because there's also a script that we're going to talk about in the next step, that if you do not upgrade to the latest version, you might not be able to run that script. And when you do try to run it, this is a script that does check your system to make sure everything is okay before you do the upgrade. But if you're not on the latest version of Proxmox, you might not be able to run that script. So for step number two, let's go through it. Let's make sure we are on the latest version of Proxmox. Let's go. Okay, so for step two, what we want to do now is we want to upgrade Proxmox, as I said, upgrade Proxmox 7.4. In this case, we're on 7 point, you can see right here on the top left-hand corner here. We're on 7.4-3. Proxmox recommend that we upgrade the Proxmox 7 version to the latest version. So whatever the latest version is, we need to upgrade Proxmox to that version to be able to do a couple of things before the upgrade, but we'll talk about that in the next step, right? But we want to make sure that we upgrade to the latest version. To do this, you need to update your repository, right? So if you have a new Proxmox server that you just set up, it's most likely that your repository is not set up correctly. So when you try to upgrade to the latest version, it's probably not going to let you. It's not going to pull down the things that you need to upgrade to the latest version. So you need to either check and make sure your repository contain the right link to the repository that needs to pull things down from, or if you don't have it, you need to add it in there. There's two ways that you can do it. You can do it in the GUI or you can do it in the command line. We're going to take a look at both real quick, and then we're going to go through the whole process. So to do it through the command line, you want to click on your node, and this is per node. So if you have several nodes in your Proxmox data center, you're going to need to do it for all of them. So make sure you're aware of that. So you click on a node, you click on shell, and what we want to do, I'm just going to copy this over because it makes things easier on me and it makes it easier for you guys to see it as well. So what we want to do, just clear that, is we want to go to our repo list, right? So the repo list is an etc apt source.list. Again, all of this, all of the commands that I run here are going to be on my website. It's just go there. I've created a detailed documentation. You'll be able to just copy and paste things over. So once we do that, you just click on enter. Sorry, you're gonna have to put nano in front of that. So let's clear that one more time. Let's go up one more time, and let's go home, and we want Nano in front of that, because Nano is the text editor that we're using to be able to see what we need to see. So once you click on that, you're going to be able to see all of the repos that you have here for your current 7.4 Proxmox 7 setup. So one of the things that you notice is that this repo right here is a little bit different. And because of this, again, if this is a new setup, you're most likely going to have this repo. So you notice that there's a bullseye, and this is a little bit different. You want all of it to be pretty much the same. I do have the non-subscription repo set up. Again, this is what I mentioned earlier. Depending on what you're doing and what environment you're setting this up in or updating in, make sure you pay attention to the repo that you're pulling down. So as you can see right here, we need to change the sky. So there's two ways that you can do this. Again, you can just delete this and then you will copy this guy over. So let me bring this guy over here. I'm just going to copy that. And this is the way to do it through command line. I'm going to open Notepad++ here. I'm going to paste that here. So you can just basically, and I'm not going to do it through command line because I want to do it through the GUI. It's pretty much straightforward. Actually, you know what? So you could do it this way. So you can just go down here and then just delete this guy right here. So it makes it easy. So you can just delete that, because you need to get rid of that repository. Because if you don't get rid of that repository, you're not going to be able to pull down the latest version of 7. So now you just pretty much paste that in here. So now we have pretty much this guy as the non-subscription repository, and it's pretty much the same. So bullseye. So that's pretty much how you want it to be. I'm going to get out, but I'm not going to save because, again, I do want to show you guys how to do it through the GUI, which is a lot more quicker. Once you're done, you can just click Control X and then you will click save. So for example, you click onto X, it's gonna ask you, do you want to save it? Once you click Y, you click enter. You click enter one more time, it's going to save it. If you go back into it, it should have this guy in there. Again, I'm not going to do that, so I'm going to click no. If I go back in there, you're going to see that it changed back to what it was. That's cool. Control X, it's fine. So now the other way that you can do this as well is to go to that specific node, go to the repo right here, click on the repo, and you're going to see Proxmox has made it very easy. I think this started in Proxmox 7 or something like that. I could be wrong, but I think it started around like Proxmox 7. So now you can see and manage your repo in the GUI, which is pretty great. So as you can see, we have this repo right here, which we do not need. So what we can do is we can click on add. Again, they've made it very easy. That's okay. And then you want to select the version that you want to kind of update to. So in our case, it's a non-subscription version, repo version. Again, enterprise non-subscription, they have a whole bunch of series, right? And then test and so on and so forth. So we want to select the non-subscription version and we want to click on add. You're going to notice that it's going to add that guy right here. This is the same pretty much that we add this guy. It pretty much just adds it for us automatically. And then we can get rid of this guy. So if you select this guy, you can like disable it. You can do whatever you want to it and stuff like that. It's because you don't necessarily need it there. So you don't need this guy anymore. So if I click reload, for example, it's going to tell us that now we have this guy and then we have this guy. We can disable that guy so that guy doesn't do anything anymore. So that particular one is disabled because we don't necessarily need it, right? We don't need this repo at all. So if we go back, actually, it's pretty interesting. If we go back, I wonder if it just commented out. So as you can see, it just pretty much just comment that one out, right? When you disable it, it adds a pound in front of it so it can comment it out. So that's pretty much all it's doing. And I find that it's a little bit more easier to be able to do it from here. So now that we have our repo set up, now we can pull down the latest version of Proxmox, right? And to do that, you're going to run this command. Again, all of these commands are going to be in there. And it just makes it a little bit easier. So Proxmox also have kind of made it a little bit easier. You can do it here as well. You can just click on upgrade here, and then it's going to go through the process and pull up all the upgrade. Or you can go through the command line and you can paste this command in, which pretty much does both for you. So it says, I need to get rid of that. So let's do home. I'm going to get rid of this extra. Kind of have that. I know. So it should look something like this. You know, apt-get, update, and apt-get this upgrade -y. So basically we're telling it to update the repo. So the new repo that we just added, pull down whatever it is that you need to pull down. And also once you're done with that, do the dist upgrade to upgrade the version of the current version that we have. So once we paste this guy in, right, we're going to click on enter. So basically what it's going to do, it's going to pull down all of the updates, or it's very important for you to restart your computer after adding, restart your node, your Proxmox node after adding or updating the repository. If you don't do that, I find that sometimes it gives you an error where it's saying that you cannot update or you're not able to update. Just restart your node, you should be fine, and then run the command again and you should be able to pull down things. So basically what it's doing now, it's updating Proxmox, and it's going to get Proxmox 7 to the latest version so we can move on to updating to Proxmox 8. So as you can see, the upgrade process is completely done. That took a while, so just keep that in mind. If you do something like this, it takes a while normally to kind of go through the update process. Okay, so now we're back up and running, and as you can see up here, we're now on 7.4.16, which is the latest Proxmox 7 version. And again, Proxmox recommend that we are on the latest version before we try to update to Proxmox 8. So that's pretty much it for step 2. Okay, we're almost there. So now we're in step number 3. So for step number 3, what you want to do now, since you've upgraded your Proxmox to the latest 7 dash whatever version, now you can run a script that Proxmox has that is going to run a check on your hypervisor. It's going to check it and make sure everything is in place, everything is ready for you to go from 7 to 8. And if you find something that you might need to fix before you go through the upgrade process, it's going to tell you and say like, hey, these are some of the things that you need to fix. And it is highly recommended, especially if you're in a production environment, not like a lab environment or test environment or whatever environment you want to call it, whatever you want to call your environment. If you're in a production environment, you want to make sure you try to fix those things, or make sure that those things don't really matter before you move on to upgrading from 7 to 8. Okay, so for step 3, we're pretty close. We're almost done. So for step 3, one of the things that we want to do is we want to run a check on our environment. So if we go to our console here, so basically what this check does is that it go through the process of going through your VM, checking things, going through your environment, checking things, and make sure your environment is ready to go from 7 to 8. If it finds any issue whatsoever, it would tell you that like, hey, there's an issue with your environment. You need to probably fix this and fix that. But one of the things to keep in mind is that if you're not on the latest Proxmox 7 version, you might receive an error when you try to run this command. It might tell you that, hey, this command is not installed. I can't find a path to this command. That's because, well, it's not on that particular version of Proxmox. So you need to make sure you update to the latest version first before trying to run this command, or else you might receive some sort of error. So there's 2 versions of this command. I'm going to actually post them in here again, so it makes it easier for you guys to see. So there's 2 versions of this command. Again, all of this will be on my website, so make sure you check it out. If you run in a production environment, it's very important probably to run the full version, which takes a little bit longer to finish. Or if you're in a test environment, home lab like I am, you just want to run the first version. You don't necessarily need to run the second version, because if it comes back clean, then what I normally do, let me put it this way, I'll run the first version. If it comes back clean, then I'm like, I'm good. If it doesn't come back clean, then I'll run the full version, which I just completely messed up. I'll run the full version to try to see what else it's going to give me, right? So maybe you can do it that way as well. But for production setup, I would say run the full version just to be on the safe side. So now let's go ahead and run that. We can just paste that in and click enter, and it's going to do its thing. Again, if you're not on the latest version, you might not be able to run this command. So there we go. So it came back and it says like, hey, 26 passed, total of 31 checks ran. And it tells you like, 5 of them were skipped. And it's going to give you the reason why they were skipped. It's going to tell you the reason why, it passed and all that stuff, or what it's checking for, or what needs to be active. In my environment, I don't really care about things that skip. I don't really pay attention to them. Unless they're crucial. Again, this is a development. It's a home lab. So again, this Proxmox is again specifically set up for this demo. So my real type 1 it's funny, this Proxmox is running on Proxmox. Inception. Anyways, so my real environment, it's pretty much the same thing. And even if it skips something, I don't worry too much about it because again, it's just a demo environment. But if you're in a production environment or you're in an environment that's so much crucial, if it finds something, a warning, make sure you pay attention to that and try to fix it before you upgrade. Because if you don't, things might go iffy. Things might go boom, and then you have to restart. Good thing you did a backup, so you might have to go through and restart things. But it looks like everything is perfect, so we're good to go. So we're perfect, no issues. Well, it skips some, but in general, no issues, no failure, no warning. We're good to go. So we're moving on to the last step. We're almost there. So for step number 4, now we're ready to upgrade to Proxmox. Please make sure you do not skip any of the previous steps. Make sure you do everything right because it's important. You want to have your backup. You want to make sure you're in the latest version. You want to run the script. You want to do all those things before you get to this point where we're like, okay, now we're ready to upgrade from 7 to 8. So make sure you do all of the previous steps before you move on to this section. But now we're ready to upgrade to 8. So let's go ahead. Let's go through that process. Let's go from 7 to 8. Okay, step number 4. We are almost there, almost done. So now we want to, we are now in the position where we're able to upgrade our Proxmox version from 7 to 8. We've done our backup just in case something goes wrong. We have upgraded to the latest version of 7. We've run our checklist, and our checklist say we're good to go. Now we're like, okay, we're feeling a little bit more confident to go from 7 to 8, right? So to go from 7 to 8, one of the things that you need to do is you need to update your repository again, right? So remember when I say that like each version of Proxmox has their own repository, and the bullseye is more specific to version 7. Now we want to update the repository to reflect Proxmox 8, so we can pull that down and we are able to upgrade when we run the disk upgrade or the update command, right? Because right now, even if we run that command, it's going to tell us that there is no update because again, we are technically still on the version 7 repo. So even if we go to shell and we run that command again, and then we click enter, it's going to tell us probably there's no update. So you see, there's nothing to do here. So even if you run it several times, it's not going to upgrade. That's because you need to change your repository completely. If you go into repo here, you're not necessarily able to change it here because this, when you click add and you switch, it just kind of pulls down whatever version that you have. It pulls down that repository. So the non-subscription version for repo for version 7 and the enterprise version for Proxmox 7, so on and so forth. I hope kind of makes sense what I'm saying, right? Which is the bullseye version. So what we want to do is we want to go to shell. We want to clear. I'm going to copy and paste again so it makes it easier for you guys to see and for me to think over. So paste that over. We want to go to our repo list again. We want to go to home here. And we want to do nano. Of course, Linux don't like capital letters. Annoying. And then click enter. It's going to take us to the repo list again. So now we want to change everything in here. So I'm going to copy things over again. All of this will be on my website, but also I will put a reference link to Proxmox documentation below if you want to read up on like the different repository and all that other stuff. Great documentation, but it's on my website, clear as day. Pictures and everything for those of you guys that like pictures and everything like that. So let's go ahead and post that. So this is the repo list that we want to update it to. So basically you're just going to copy and paste. So this first one is a reflection of the first one. So the only thing that changes here is pretty much this guy. So let me bring that back up here for a second. So as you can see, first one, we're going to kind of just basically get rid of that. So we're going to go ahead and say delete, delete, delete. And we are going to paste that version in here. And then we're going to go down one more there and we're going to delete that. So we're going to pretty much do it for all of this ones because again, we're pretty much trying to get the repo, we're pretty much trying to get the repo for version 8. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And just give me a few here. All right. Let's copy the second guy. copy that guy, paste that guy in here, and we're gonna do that for this guy as well. And we want to just delete this guy. And we want to copy the non-repository for this guy, the non-subscription version for this guy. We want to paste that in there. We want to go one more down, which is the security. Click on home and then delete that. All right, and we want to copy the last guy, which is the security repo for this guy. Paste that. And we don't necessarily need this guy anymore because that's, again, that's the older version, so we don't necessarily need it anymore. So we can go ahead and delete that. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on that and then get rid of that. So this is what it needs to look like. Just give me one. I'm trying to go as slow as possible so you guys can see the whole process. Because I hate watching tutorials where people are like, click, 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 click. I was like, slow and steady, sir. Slow and steady. It makes it easier to understand, you know. My tutorials, I'm going to create a series of tutorials coming up. I'm going to try to make them slow and steady and very clear as possible, because when I go look for things online, those are the kind of tutorials that I like to see, you know. It's just like, it's very clear as day. Anyways, you know, right? Okay, so it needs to look like this. You need to have this guy, this guy, this guy, and then this guy, right? And what is very important is that this needs to be it needs to be consistent throughout, right? So you see how it says bookworm, 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 bookworm. It's very important that this is consistent, because if you have bookworm here and then you have a different repo here that's pulling something else, you're gonna break your system. Well, if you go through the update and it gives you a question where it asks you like, hey, you're trying to do this, but it's a different repo, and then you just click yes, it's going to break your system. So it's very important that your repo is consistent. If you want to pull things for a specific version, make sure for a specific Proxmox version, make sure every single one of these are pretty much the same. Very important. Very important. If it's not, you're going to break your system. So once you do that, you just want to click Control X. It's going to ask you if you want to save it. You're going to click Y and you're going to click Enter. If we go back into it, you're going to see that that's what we have. We're ready. I feel excited. So we do Control X again. If we go now to our repository, you're going to see that now we have the latest version of like the Proxmox 8 version. So now if we run our beautiful command to upgrade, ideally, we might need to restart though, but let's try. If we run our command to upgrade, it should take us from 7 to 8. And I'm praying here there's no issue because we've done everything right. So let's click Control and let's paste that in and let's run it and see. It's looking good. Okay, so it's pulling down things. It's going through the whole installation. This is good news. So it's pulling down everything. As you can see right now, we're on 7.4.16. So this process is going to take a little bit longer. I'm going to stay throughout the process. So because it's going to ask you a series of questions, which is a matter of preference. But for the most part, you want to click like no for a lot of them, because it's going to ask you, hey, there's a newer version of this file. Do you want us to replace it? And you want to say no. Not unless you want to say yes and have it replace it and then kind of copy from your backup and then put it back in. But I'm going to stop talking now and let's let the stuff go through it. Don't delete. My advice is don't delete things that you don't need to delete. If you don't understand what you're deleting, don't delete it. You can always come back and delete those things and overwrite those things if you want. I just have to make sure you understand the folder where it's located. So it's done. It's done. Ideally, if we refresh, we should see 8 here. Fingers crossed, nothing is broken and we're able to refresh and we're able to reboot and come back up. So let's do first refresh. See, that's okay. Click reload and look at that. Oh, nice. So we're on version 8 now. We didn't break anything. Hooray, hooray. That's it. Congratulations. I'm gonna give you a slow clap. You're now officially from Proxmox. You've now officially moved from Proxmox 7 to Proxmox 8. I hope that was a little bit smooth because I had to do a little bit of digging to kind of figure out all of these things before upgrading. So I hope this was a little bit helpful. It was a little bit smooth. If you run into any issues, comment down below. Again, I do have a write-up like with pictures and everything of the whole process that I went through on my website, and it will be on the Discord channel as well. So if you run into any issues, comment down below. Check out the website. Maybe you just need to kind of see the write-up of things. Let me know if I made any mistake. I'm happy. I'm a humble guy, so I'm happy to correct my mistakes or anything like that. Again, I hope this video has been helpful to you. Thumbs up, subscribe, and do not forget to say hi in the comments. Or one more thing, as I said earlier in the video, we've started a Discord channel. So if you want somewhere where you have like-minded people that are wanting to grow, you don't have to know everything. I don't know everything. I learn and grow every day in IT, and I enjoy being around people that are smarter than me, people that are also on the come up as well, so I can help where I can help, people that I can reach out to and be like, hey, you've done this before, like how do you do it? That's the community that we're trying to build. So if you feel like that's something that you want to get into, check out the Discord, go there, say hi. I'm in there, we'll say hi back, and let's all become one big family. So make sure you check it out. Link will be in the description box below. Comment, thumbs up, subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions. I will see you guys in the next one. There's a lot more videos coming. That's why actually I'm upgrading from 7 to 8. There's a lot more videos coming, trust me. It's going to be fun. So make sure you subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.